When I first heard the words spirit of the meeting, after becoming an attender and a member of a Quaker meeting, my reptile brain immediately discounted it as religious dogma, scary stuff, stay away. But as I came to know her better, the engineers part of my psyche realized that we've been good and faithful companions for most of my life. As a civil engineer, practicing systems engineer, you come to realize very early in your career that projects feel very differently when they're created excellent or when they're working well from poor and mediocre ones. But the rub is always trying to figure out why and hopefully how to do something positive to overcome the negative. And recently I wrote an article explaining how, in my humble opinion, Quakers, or Friends as they're called, philosophy is very similar to the way in which quality assurance is carried out in all different sorts of industries. And following up on that, I want to see if I can present a very similar aspect on the acronyms of practicing Quaker philosophy, which are called SPICE. From the perspective of a systems engineer, Quaker testaments are a system for living. It's like little gears in a gearbox. You can't really just pick one, you need them all if you're going to get some traction. Some people object to making an acronym out of simplicity, peace, integrity, community and equality, but to me that reinforces the fact that they're one unified system. They're parts, but they're a whole. Parts are naturally interrelated and come together to make a whole, which is greater than its parts. And okay, so that's a cliche, but it's still true. Just as there's a spirit in each of us, the sum of all of us is much less than what that spirit is. Horsepower, call it what you want. Spiritual horsepower, maybe, I don't know. More, each testimony contains each of the others. Simplicity needs to get on with equality. To turn well needs a piece of integrity. As each is contained by each, so they share things. And, well, it might be a little too metaphysical to be a true engineering perspective, but you'll get why I said that in a minute. Let's talk about simplicity. Simplicity does not mean unidimensionality. Many natural phenomena are structurally simple, but they're still multidimensional. Simplicity is about being able to strip away the ornamentation to get to the essence of the idea, the shape, the feeling. And when you look at the majesty of the world, from tidal forces to volcanoes, to volcano eruptions, to lava flows, to weather, to ocean patterns, all the majestic forces in nature are based on simple, interdimensional layers and actions. So let's look at peace. What is peace? Similarly, peace is not simply the absence of war or conflict. Peace is a place of harmony and equilibrium. Look at the Fibonacci spiral. Remember, engineer's eyes. A form that appears in nature in the shell of a snail, the shape of storm clouds, the genealogy of honeybees, the size of continents, flowers, plants, and even the universe that surrounds us. When it's enclosed, you have a golden mean, a mathematical relationship of parts that's held to be particularly pleasing to the eye. And this was used by classical architects and great artists, but the term golden mean is also defined as a desirable middle between two extremes, the point at which harmony is reached, therefore peace. Integrity. Integrity also is both metaphysical and a physical definition. And in the concept of the principles of human behavior, integrity is a quality of moral uprightness and honesty. In a physical sense, integrity is structural wholeness. An engineer may speak of failed part compromising the integrity of the whole. I've chosen to illustrate this with an image that's something different. It represents the interconnected root system as a grove of trees. Integrity? Trees? Yes. After Hurricane Katrina and the resultant flood surge devastated New Orleans, and moved lots of man-made stuff. During the cleanup, it was noted that the massive oaks that lined many of the boulevards had suffered very little damage. Further study revealed something that had never been seen before. Below the surface of the ground, the trees were holding hands. They were forming an interlocking network, which meant as the storm force impacted one tree, that tree was connected to the other trees, and all the grove took the strain as much as they liked. So one tree was more than the sum of its parts. This meant that each oak could become part of an integrated, strong group. The pattern of growth of the trees resulted from a demonstrable mathematical formula. So let's look at this formula. Let me start to address the statement I made a few minutes ago, that each testimony contains each of the others, even as contained by each itself. I typed the word Fibonacci at the top of the image of the oaks because the branching of these roots is one of the natural phenomena that follows the Fibonacci sequence. And it's the summation of all the places where these branching tendrils touch and intertwine that creates the combination of strength and flexibility that gave the groves the ability to withstand a massive storm. So what is this Fibonacci magic sequence? It is simply the sequence of numbers that begins with 0, 1, and each subsequent number is the sum of the previous two. As well, 0 and 1 is 1, 1 and 1 is 2, 2 and 1 is 3, 3 and 2 is 5, ad infinitum. It could never be simpler in mathematical terms, but from simple mathematical formula is divided by portions of the Parthenon, and so you get the integrity of both pith, and simplicity makes integrity. Can I say the reverse? Surely we can achieve harmony or peace. We're also connected to the simple essence of our existence. And we found that the golden mean gives us all the strength to live with integrity, and I won't belabor that point. Excuse me. Let's go to community. And again, we're looking from an engineer's point of view. In Southeast Africa, a long time ago, tropical cyclones came to visit us quite regularly, and they devastated the countries around the area, both modern built and primitive built, from Mozambique, Zambia, to what is now Zimbabwe, which is then Rhodesia, to Swaziland, and more. Malawi, devastated. And our company, Ajax, was based in Rhodesia, which played a big role in disaster mitigation. And when the storm had passed and the devastation was done, we did aerial surveys of all the other distant countries, well, countries next door, to fly over and see where the devastation was, what we needed to support, how we could get relief damages in there. And I'm telling you, the second the storm had passed, the winds backed off, our flights were in the air, and every country was linked to each other country, no matter what you hear. As we flew over, things stood out, some very peculiar shapes that turned out to be villages. And they looked like they were untouched, but then from the air, a lot of things looked different in devastation. So as we then did ground infiltration surveys to find out these things, on closer examination, these practically undamaged villages appeared to be designed in a particular repetitive patterns. These patterns were called fractals. And I connect community with a sense of fractal because the fractal is a repeating pattern that looks the same at every scale. Natural phenomena can be described mathematically as fractals, and mathematical set can be calculated that will graph as a fractal. And not only were the buildings, family compounds, and villages laid out in fractal patterns, but so was the surrounding infrastructure, fences, which were protected from all different heights. And they suffered mild damage, whereas walls and different pieces in Luanda and Beira were gone, devastated. The fences were very similar to the New Orleans Oaks in that they were all connected below ground, and the village layout emulated this. The house joined the family, compound joined the village, joined the bigger villages, etc. And so this, village layout was without one document being written. So naturally, being curious engineers, we get rather anal, and we said to the village elders, "Where did these designs come from?" And they looked at us, as well our smallness was felt in a small way, not a big way, and merely responded, "It is the way that it is." What an incredible comment. Engineers worldwide, listen please. So kind of pending this, let's move on to equality, our last letter in the acronym. Let's contemplate equality. I'm going to fall back again on construction engineering, good old anal engineering. And one of the architects I most admire from both the design and the structural perspective is Friedrich Hundertwasser. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I first became acquainted with his work through studying a power plant at Spitlau in Vienna. Yes, a power plant, a power generation station he had designed, and this thing operates at about 130% design capacity. And you look at it and go, wow, that's an incredibly attractive industrial building. People around it love it. It's a major part of the community, removes rubbish, gives them back hot water and electricity. And it works extremely well. And as you wander around the place, which is impeccably clean, there is a place for a chamber orchestra. Yes, in a power plant, America, we can learn from that. Everything is pleasing to the eye, and you notice that everybody that works there has a smile on their face. And the people I was with at the time said, quite bluntly, in our American directness and candor, either somebody here is supplying drugs or we have to find out more about how this place works. It was a living demonstration of the integral connection between harmonious design and productivity, not only of buildings, but of people. But then, as I was looking at Hundertwasser's work, one of the people in the power plant said, "Have you ever seen the church St. Barbara in Styria, Austria?" And, the comment was no, but we'll go for a visit. And it's a strangely and beautiful, refurbished parish church that, as you can see, it looks like graffiti everywhere. It is a Protestant church that has an onion dome on it. And, as you go past, you'll find that a lot of religions in the world are represented. And, the huge onion dome is not Protestant. And in the words of the artist, the design of St. Barbara is the gesture of ecumenism, tolerance, and togetherness. What a great description of equality. But wait, we're not done. Around the church, there are 12 archways in the grounds, and each arch is dedicated to a particular world religion, from Judaism to African primitive to prehistoric Islam, Shintoism, and more. But my absolute favorite is the 12th arch, which is bare. And it's to praise all the people in the world with no religion. What a beautiful representation of equality in an area that is often fraught with lack thereof. To my engineer's spirit and soul, all the above are demonstrative examples of how the world functions and what we can learn from her. To my Quaker friend inner being that has no certification except that lives in its soul, they're comprehensible, logical examples of soul food to grow stronger in the faith and make a better world for all. Thank you.